Graham Gartland here at the Hellfire Club. Welcome to Clear the Head. Each week we'll be talking to a member of Shamrock Rovers Football Club, going for a walk through their life and their journey.
I'd like to think I'm a fast learner, and obviously just asking questions I think is the main thing, because you know, the gaffers can't teach one person, that they have 22 people to look after. So for me, I had to ask questions to kind of go like, look, you know, you've got to ask yourself, you've got to bring that upon yourselves to do that. And yeah, I think I adapted fast to it.
I think you did, yeah.
You
7
know,
goals.
You know, people complain about, you know, sports scientists and stuff like this are kind of taking over the game, but for me, like, even in my testing and stuff like that, I've seen a big difference going from part-time to full-time. Like, even stuff like how high I can jump or how fast I can run over a certain speed and stuff like that, that's all kind of changed, like, you know. So
that's the physical side.
That's the physical side of things, like, you know.
League champion, how does that feel?
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's an unbelievable feeling, and it's one that I haven't had. So it's yeah, look, it's been a long season, really enjoyable season, and obviously at the start of the season, that's what I came here to do. So obviously in different circumstances, weird circumstances, watching it on my couch, you know, but it was it's brilliant to go over the line, and yeah, what a feeling. So where's Tala from here now?
Down there, look.
Oh, you can see the Aviva there, can't you?
There's the, yeah, you'll be in the Aviva soon, bud. Thanks for coming, Andy. Appreciate it. So, league champion, how does that feel?
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's an unbelievable feeling, and it's one that I haven't had. So it's yeah, look, it's been a long season, really enjoyable season, and obviously at the start of the season, that's what I came here to do. So obviously in different circumstances, weird circumstances, watching it on my couch, you know, but it was it's brilliant to go over the line, and yeah, what a feeling.
Yeah, you've had lots of highlights this year. What would be the ones that stand out for you personally, and then obviously for the team?
Personally, I think not goals or anything. I think just the Conference League, getting into the group stages, making my debut in the group stage. I think that was really big for me. Obviously, win the league title, that's obviously the obvious one, isn't it? But no, I think making my debut in the Conference League, that was brilliant, because I think that was another kind of, when I came to the club and sat down with the gaffers, and obviously that was kind of one of the big objectives of the season, was to get into a European group stage. So I think to make my debut on that was brilliant. And then yeah, look, obviously the league was the obvious one, wasn't it? But I think just the experiences of Europe, just going away from home, I think we've been on 7-8 trips now, like, and I think that is just brilliant. It's kind of brought us together massively, and obviously we've won the league, because I think the camaraderie in the group is so good because of that, and I think the European trips help with that, you know.
Yeah. And was that a big factor? Like, the big factors in your signing for Rovers this year was to compete for trophies, full-time football, as you said, and maybe to try and get group stages in a European competition. Do you feel vindicated and justified in the fact that you've done all three, really?
Yeah, I think definitely, like, you know, I think obviously I got a taste of it last year. Bo was playing in Europe, and I think obviously Bose didn't get it last year, and I think for me, I kind of sat down and was like, you know, I really want another go at that. Like, I really want another taste of that. Obviously we played in 3 rounds, but for me it was like, can I go a step further? And obviously win the league was the big one. Rovers have won it 2 years in a row, and then for me, if I could play a part and win the 3rd one, I'd love to do that. So yeah, I think, and then obviously the full-time football, it's always something that I wanted to do. I was obviously trained in the evening, so for me it was kind of like waking up to play football was always my dream. So to do that was kind of a big factor in my decision, I suppose, you know. And then obviously we're going the Champions route as well, so it gives us a good chance of getting the Conference League. Obviously we still have to win games, but yeah, them kind of 3 factors, Europe, win the league, and full-time football, were kind of the big 3 that kind of made the move for me, you know.
So to break it down then, to go full-time, what do you feel you've benefited from that as a player? So there's obviously the 4 topics, you know, you're technically, tactically, physically and mentally. Would you say being full-time has improved all of them in different aspects?
Yeah, I think so. I think even, like, I know people complain about, you know, sports scientists and stuff like this are kind of taking over the game, but for me, like, even in my testing and stuff like that, I've seen a big difference going from part-time to full-time. Like even stuff like how high I can jump or how fast I can run over a certain speed and stuff like that. That's all kind of changed, like, you know. So
that's the physical side.
That's the physical side of things, like, you know. Then the technical and tactical side of things, I suppose, it's just there's more time on the pitch. You have more time around the people. Obviously, in the evening, there's only so much time, isn't there? Like, so in the mornings, you know, you come in and there's so much time to stay on the pitch after training, maybe to do your technical work. Obviously before training is kind of your tactical work, so that's obviously been massive for me. So yeah, I think so, 100%. Them four aspects have improved for me. And
tactically getting used to playing as a wing back first of all,
and
then to go right. You started as a right wing back when you came in to Rovers, to then go. Now you're getting used to that, but we're going to put you on the other side now.
Yeah, it was weird because I remember speaking to Stephen McPhail, before I joined, like, and it was actually weird because I remember playing an under-16 trial match for the Irish team.
Yeah.
And Stephen was there, and he said to me in the phone call, and he was like, I remember you playing left back in that game, because I played left back in that game, and he was like, I really liked you there.
Yeah.
And he was just like, look, we see you as a right wing back, and obviously you can fit in it, maybe right centre back as well, like, and he was just like, but I think he kind of had a sneaky suspicion there might be something on the left, because he's seen me play there before, like, you know, that kind of way. And then obviously, you know, it does take time to adjust, because obviously I came in late in the pre-season. Remember the week I came in the Monday. I think we had a game the Friday, so I kind of had to adjust in that 4 or 5 days to how they play, how we press off the ball. All that kind of stuff was completely different. But I'd like to think I'm a fast learner, and obviously just asking questions I think is the main thing, because you know, the gaffers can't teach one person. They have 22 people to look after. So for me, I had to ask questions to kind of go like, look, you know, you've got to ask yourself, you've got to bring that upon yourself to do that. And yeah, I think I adapted fast to it.
I think you did, yeah.
You
7 goals.
Yeah, so obviously 7 goals in the league, so, you know, buzzing with that, and then obviously won the FA Cup and Europe as well. So yeah, look, it's been brilliant, but I think just laying the foundation at the very start, the gaffers are brilliant with me, like, you know. You know, even Glenn and the gaffer and Mac, just tactical piece of information, as I said, in the press and stuff like that, because I think that's a big part of our game is pressing from the front, like. And as a wing back, I'm fully involved in that, whereas maybe playing as a full back and a 4, you're not really so much involved in the press. Like.
When to release to take the full back, and then you know that your centre back behind is going to free up and do the winger behind 100%. You, and having that trust. Yeah,
so like it's kind of weird, because I'm kind of like, I'm nearly pressing the fella that I was last year, if that makes sense. So I nearly had to like think back to the games that we played against Rovers and kind of saw like, how did I get time, like what did I do well to play against this formation and try counteract that as playing a left wing back, to try see how I can make it difficult to play against a full back, in a kind of way.
Reverse it,
so it is kind of difficult, because I said I was that right back last year playing against Rovers, and now I'm the one pressing the right back. So I said with Bowes, I was obviously in a 4. I never pressed the full back. So getting that kind of time and when to go and when to stay sometimes was vital for me. And I think it's brilliant as well in the change room. The lads behind me, whether it be Lee or Sean, were kind of on my side predominantly for the whole year, like, you know.
And the fact that like Lee Grace has been there predominantly all year up until the last probably 3 weeks, but the fact that he's played it since 2017 is a massive help, isn't it? Yeah,
I think that was massive. Like, I think me and Lee really got a good relationship on that side, like, and whether it's I go, he'll follow, or he pushes me on, then he knows what to do after that. I think it was massive, like, and I think just having that experience and that know-how behind me was brilliant for me, like, because I kind of like, obviously at the very start, I remember maybe my debut against UCD, I was probably nervous, probably just did the safe thing and stuff like that, and then the next few games the lads were like, go and show yourself, go and express yourself, you know, kind of way. And I think once that game happened, like, not that I had a bad game, but I probably just took the safe route sometimes.
Playing yourself a little bit,
yeah, probably, because I think, you know, obviously just kind of get used to surroundings and stuff, like. But after that, as I said, the lads are brilliant, and, you know, it's we just kind of built a good relationship up, and knowing when to go. And like, even last night when Lee came on, obviously I played with Sean a few times as well, and we had a good relationship. But I think even with Lee, just when he came last night, we know each other work inside out, you know, that kind of way.
I've noticed even your relationship with Gaffney and say Graham Burke as that inside left player, that when you check and Burke makes that run down the line or else around you, you know then I can go straight into Gaffney and follow it.
Yeah.
And then that becomes the set for your right foot finish.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
I think Rory's quite vocal in that as well. Like, you know, the kind of way. Like, I know
yeah, he demands it, doesn't he?
He demands it. Like, and I think again it kind of took a while to kind of get used to that. But as I said, he is quite vocal in that.
Is he vocal? Because we couldn't get a word out of him doing this.
Yeah, no, he's vocal in what he wants from the players within. Like, you know, that kind of way. I think the Golden Finn Harps is obviously an example of that, where I've played it into him, I've ran off him. But he's so strong and so physical. Like, I think when you play the ball into him, it has to be the right ball. It sticks every time, doesn't it? But for him, then it's like he needs runners off it, you know, that kind of way. So for me, it was kind of like just following the ball up and whether it's inside, obviously the Finn Harps when I went to the left. But I remember against Shells earlier on the year, I went to his right, like, you know, kind of way, and finished like so. But yeah, it gives you the platform to kind of have that focal point where you can hold the ball up. Now, obviously, you've seen throughout the year you can run behind as well. But I just mean to have that focal point to play off.
But around the box, you need them to pin so you can play. You play in and then run off them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no space to run behind them because they're on the edge of their box.
That's the thing, like, you know.
And that's where you see a lot of your goals. It's outside the right boot. You follow it in. There's a run down the left, and then you're open then to finish where you like.
Yeah, like I saw even the run the other day.
Probably should have got more goals in fairness.
Yeah, I probably should have, you know. But there has been chances, you know. There has been times like, but even the other day, like Graham's run the ball. Obviously, people hit a ball to me against Pats, like, and I've took a touch, played Graham in, but like I nearly didn't even have to look to play that ball because that's just I know that run's going to happen. Do you know, that kind of way? And I think it was trying
to grab this right side of centre back out then. Yeah.
I don't know who it was against. I think it was Drogheda. Graham did the same run, whipped the ball right across the face of the goal, like, and that was obviously last week, like, you know, and just that kind of relationship, knowing he's going to make that run, and then obviously Rory's normally in the box, but Rory's always looking for the ball as well, which is great, like, you know, so you kind of know where your next pass is going to be. And for me, like, playing on the left compared to the right, like, it's a lot easier
to cut in and play,
like, you know. Whereas on the right, like, it nearly has to be you know, you wouldn't usually come in your left and play, you know, kind of way. So,
plus the fella defending you, when you're playing with the outside of your right boot, you're nearly drawing them as close to you as you can to then release the goal.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do that on your right side because it's very hard to play on your outside of your left foot.
100%, yeah.
So.
It's but it's something you adapt to as well, you know, kind of way. But I kind of like it because it's you know, even just the ones around the corner you can do first time nearly if the ball's coming in, and you can just spin it around the corner and run off that, like, you know, that kind of way. It's that's just the position it's in, and sometimes it's great. Like, I remember against, I think it was Ludogorets at home, they played a really high line, and I remember it was just like I had to drop deep a lot of times, get the ball from Lee and just kind of spin that one over the top, like, you know.
You just want to drop, don't you?
Yeah, just drop and then just spin it over, like, you know. Whereas on the right side, you know, there's pros and cons to every.
Has to come across you,
like. So I mean, that kind of worked really well, and Grainer was brilliant that day, running it behind, and I think Dundalk was very similar as well. A few months ago,
3-0 game or something,
just that ball, because they've obviously played a high line this year, and I think sometimes, obviously, if I'm on the right, it's very hard to do that. Not hard.
Yeah, no, it is. You have to left foot. It has to travel an extra 2 yards.
Exactly. So if you're going to do it with your left foot, it's obviously going to be more difficult. Whereas your right, if it's the right ball from Lee or whether it's a centre mid, it's just set you and kind of spin that, you know, that kind of way.
One of the things that probably what surprised me about you this season, because I've seen you play since you're a kid coming through at Bowes. I actually think you played a friendly against Dundee. I was at that a few years ago, back in 2018, was it?
Yeah.
So I've seen you all coming all the way up. Your heading ability has really sort of surprised me because I didn't see that. And I don't mean your heading ability is everyone can head a ball, but the timing of your headers from set pieces has really stood out.
Yeah, it's kind of surprised.
Is that something that surprised you as well?
It's kind of surprised me a bit as well, to be fair. But to be honest with you, it's the first year I've actually went up for corners since my professional career. Like, you know, I always stayed back. Like, now when I was younger, like if I take it back to when I was younger in my youth career, like I always played up front. Like,
did you?
So I was a striker. Like, and
who did you start your schoolboy career?
Nice FC. Like, so I always played either right wing or up top. Like, you know.
Right.
So I'd score a few goals in the league. Like that's how I grew up. Like, you know what I mean. But in terms of heading, like, yeah, I think it's probably just that kind of reading the way the ball's going to go, where it's going to go, because I think the goals that you've seen, I've scored, I think, 3 headers, but haven't exactly.
They're not towering headers.
They're not towering
You're getting
headers.
the flight of it,
Yeah.
bang.
Like I think someone like Sean Hoare, like you can see his leap is incredible.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
clearly as well.
I don't think I have that leap, but I kind of just. It's more so I've just read the way the flight of the ball more so better than everyone else. You know, that kind of way.
That was a European goal for me. It was like you just arrived at the right time. The ball was dropping head height, and you've just come on. Very hard to defend against them.
Yeah, to be fair, it comes from Jack's ball, like, you know, that
Yeah.
kind of way. As in, I've kind of built up a relationship from Jack and Eddie from corners where I know where it's going to go, and I know if I get myself into that area. As I said, I've scored 3 headers in the exact same area this
Yeah,
year.
that's
you know,
right,
kind of
yeah.
way. And I've probably had 1 or 2 more where I probably should have scored. So, you know, when you have that kind of delivery, it's very easy to kind of make that run,
Yeah.
because if it's kind of a delivery where you don't know if it's going to go to the back or the front, then it's hard to make your run, you know. So I think when you have that kind of delivery, you know where it's going to go, you can make your run accordingly, you know, kind of way.
Yeah, I do. And then, you're from Nice originally, which is close to,
Yeah,
other than Kildare Town, which don't exist anymore. Rovers is your closest club.
yeah.
How did you end up going over to the north side?
Yeah, so I think obviously I played with my schoolboy football at Joey's. So I went from Nice to Joey's, St Joseph's Boys over in Sallynoggin, like. And then I went to Bray because we had a connection with Bray. I went there for about 2 or 3 weeks, like.
Yeah.
And then kind of Keith Long came in, and there was a few of us that went over to Bows, like. That Bows were probably one of the top underage sides, and then I went there, and then I was there obviously for 6 years. So that's how I ended up on the north side, like. But never did I think it, because I was always on the south side with Joey's, like.
Yeah,
That's where I
yeah.
was kind of where I was playing my football, like. And then obviously, but that's football, isn't it? Like, you know, you end up where you think you're going to develop best, and obviously I went over to Bows then back over the south side now at Rovers,
Yeah.
like. So it's a bit funny how it works, like, you know, that kind of way, because I never saw myself going to the north side,
Yeah.
because I was always on the south side, brought up there.
But
and
that's, when we were, obviously the academy now is up and running, and one of the things with us was there was so many people travelling past us to go and play for teams, whether that was from Tala itself or from like the likes of Kildare, that you drove by Roadstone every day to
Yeah.
get to Joey's, so you drove by Roadstone every day to get over to the north side. That's where we're saying we've a catchment area that can get these players, and you'd be one of them that we think we could have caught him going
Yeah.
by us, you know. So that's why it was so important, and even the location of Roadstone is so important that it has a catchment area, Clondalkin, Luke and Tala, and then obviously people coming up from Newbridge, Nace, etc. Like, so you're one that probably slipped through.
yeah, probably slipped through.
But we weren't at that stage yet.
That's the
Roadstone
thing, like,
wasn't built.
It wasn't there yet, like. And I
Yeah.
think, like, but even at that time, I don't think there was many clubs. Like, even if you look at Bows, they didn't have that kind of setup as well. Like,
No.
as in at very young age, 14s, 15s, it wasn't there yet, you know.
It was still DDSL role.
Yeah,
wasn't
so
it?
maybe the structure of the League of Ireland that's actually benefited a lot of the clubs, like, you know, kind of way from,
Yeah.
you know, because I know for a fact now, if I was that age, like, I would have went into a Rovers under 15s now as opposed
Yeah.
to playing DDSL, you know, kind of way. But
Yeah.
obviously, look, there's pros and cons. I'm not going to get into that argument.
No.
But
Listen,
I mean, I know exactly what you mean, because even in Nace, like, obviously Kildare Town were a team. They obviously they're not there anymore. Like,
Yeah.
so Kildare's in a kind of vulnerable position now, where it's like, you know, a lot of your best players have to go to Dublin to try and make it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
kind of way. So
the KDUL now has since kicked in, which has made
Yeah.
them a little bit. They can hold on to lads in their area a little bit longer, which is great. Which is what you want to see too. Funny, interesting one regarding. I met you probably back in 2015. I want to say
16, I'd say.
16. I got asked.
Could be wrong.
No, you're still in school.
Yeah.
I got asked to do an interview for a radio station, and I thought, all right. And I went over to Blackrock College, and I walked in, and they're like, yeah, we're going to do the interview for the radio station. And I went, what radio is it going out on? And you're like, just the school radio station. Now, I'm from Jobstown,
Yeah.
so I was like,
I know what you're imagining.
your school has a radio station?
Yeah.
And I'm like, who listens to it? And you're like, we all listen to it in the class. And I'm like, you have a radio station?
In here.
So I got suckered right into thinking I was doing something for like 98 FM,
I remember that.
when
yeah.
it turns out it was just a local radio station. And I was like, you have a school car, you have a pupils car park, what's going on here? So, but then I got talking to you, and obviously you interviewed me,
Yeah.
which was a bit surreal considering I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
But obviously the broadcasting and the radio stuff is in your blood as well, because your uncle Johnny Lyons, the great Johnny Lyons as he used to say, he was your uncle. And you had a good relationship with him, did you?
Yeah, I had a really good relationship with him. Like, and I think it's always something that I've kind of. It's weird that you say that because obviously I was only in fourth year at the time. I was probably 15, 16. Like, but on the same day I actually interviewed Stephen Kenny. But
that's right. Yeah.
You know, it was a bit mad. Like,
did he know it was for just a school?
I don't know. He was probably the exact same as you. Like,
done us both
he was probably just wondering what's going on. Like, but obviously they were in there. It would have been the first European campaign then when they played against Zenit and stuff like that. That was that kind of run. Like, I remember I was only probably 15 interviewing Stephen Kenny. It was a bit mad. Like, you know, that kind of way. It was a bit crazy. And then obviously interviewing you on the same day. Like, but yeah, I think that's kind of something in my blood because obviously Johnny was obviously massive in the country, wasn't he? Like, and I think he was so enthusiastic about it that there was something in it that I kind of just enjoyed. Like, in that kind of way. I think when that kind of obviously in Blackrock when that kind of came about for me to do it, I was kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna. Remember when the two names came up, I was kind of a bit nervous about like, because you know when you're that young and you're interviewing people, you know it's a bit nerve-wracking, like, so, you know. But I said, you know, I'm just gonna go for it. Like, I think you benefit from it, you learn from it. Yeah, definitely.
You could do these in 10 years.
I'll do these in 10 years. I'll be interviewing you again.
So, yeah. I won't be getting up the hill this quick. I'll be struggling. So obviously he's your dad's brother. Yeah. And how did he get into sport? Because your dad's a solicitor. They had completely different. So how did Johnny end up going into sport and your dad going his route?
From Mount Marion originally, so in 1981 him and a few other lads founded the senior team there, like Mount Marion senior team. And he's a big Argentina fan, like, because Johnny was all Holland, like, you know.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And my dad was all Argentina, like, and subsequently Mount Marion wear blue and white now, you know, that kind of way. So it's a funny old story, like.
That's great.
It's weird because they used to go.
I knew that.
Yeah, honestly. So they used to go to all the World Cups together, like my dad following Argentina and Johnny following Holland.
The 78 World Cup was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they played each other in the 78 World Cup.
Yeah, and then the 86 as well. Maradona obviously scored the hand of God, didn't he? And then they obviously went to America together and stuff. And then when Ireland were playing, it was kind of like three teams nearly then, you know. And then together, I think it was for the 94 World Cup, they wrote like a magazine for the World Cup, like, you know, kind of. Yeah, they published a magazine for the World Cup, and actually
about the travels, like.
No, it was more so just in-depth analysis of every squad, like.
Oh, brilliant!
I'll have to have a few copies back home. Like, it's mad, like, because there was some contact. I think Johnny had some contact in Saudi Arabia or something like that, but no other broadcasting or magazine team had this kind of contact, like. So so this magazine, my dad and my uncle did have all the information of the Saudi Arabia squad, or it was some national team that wasn't in Europe, like. So they had all the information of every player that was playing the World Cup, but no one else could get hold of this. Okay. Because there was some connection. But so they were all football driven, like they were always all football.
Your dad's image to Johnny's, Johnny. I remember meeting Johnny for the first time, and the only way I knew it was him was because of his voice.
Yeah.
Because he came down and he's there and chatting away, but he used to wear combats, sleeveless tops,
big tattoos,
crocodile. Beard, shaved head. And I'm like, you're Johnny Lyons after, and he's like, yep. Yeah. But your dad's short and toy, man.
It's one of those weird ones, isn't it? Because when you're on the radio, you know, when you listen to the radio and you don't know the face behind it, like, kind of thing. It's one of those old stories, isn't it? Like, you just don't have a clue what it's going to be like. But yeah, he was renowned for that. Just the beater, the little sweatshirt, like sleeveless top, big crocodile tattoo, and a big long jacket, like, you know.
Right. He was his own man, wasn't he?
He was his own man, but then my dad was obviously suit and tie man.
Yeah.
Shaved head as well, like, you know what I mean? So they're obviously very similar in their ways, but both of them would talk for days. Like,
baldness in the genes, is there?
I'll tell you, it's coming still.
Yeah.
The fullbacks are bombing on already, you know what I mean? But it's weird because my dad was a suit and tie man, and then Johnny would literally, he'd go to the World Cup with a toothbrush and cash in his shoe, and that would be it, like, you know what I mean?
Combat pocket,
that's all it was, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a weird old concept how it all worked out, you know what I mean? But they got on so well, like, you know what I mean? So it was.
You obviously went in to go to college or to go to secondary school in Blackrock, which meant you had to live on your own and go to school. Do you think that helped you mature as well as a person, and it gave you maybe even looking forward now? So you're obviously, the deal's agreed to go to Blackpool, you're going over. But do you think that year or maybe 2 years of living by yourself and getting yourself to school, getting yourself to training, do you think that's going to benefit you going over there now?
Yeah, 100%. Like, so in second year I lived on my own with my brother and my dad, like, but my dad would have worked long hours, like, because obviously say 7-8 o'clock at night maybe some days, like, you know. But obviously I would have had to get a bus to training in Joey's, like, so I would have been in Blackrock would have got a bus out to Joey's, like, but I would have got a bus into school as well, like, and I would have fed myself and looked after myself. So that was from the age of like 15, probably younger, 14, 15, like, you know, kind of way. So I've probably had that bit of independence where I've probably lived on my own now for the last 3 years as well. So my dad's gone back home because obviously he had to live with us because we were only young, like, you know. But we always got that bit of freedom as well, that it was handy because obviously Joey's on a bus route. I get the bus to and from training, like. But going forward, like, 100% is going to stand to me because that independence is massive, like. But in saying that, I still don't drive, so Cavo and Graham drive me in every day, like, you know what I mean. So I still have a box to tick there, like, you know. But that was actually vital for me coming into the club, like, with Graham and Cavo, obviously being from around town, like. And obviously me living there, it was great to have them kind of just to integrate myself in the group, because I remember the first day, like, in Rovers, I was kind of like, right lads, report for training on Monday morning in Roadstone, like, and I was like sitting there going like,
how do I get to Roadstone?
I have no way to get here, like, do you know what I mean? So I remember Gary O'Neill text me saying like, welcome to the club and great to have you here. And I remember saying to Gary, I was like, how am I going to get the training? Like, is there anyone that can give me a lift or whatever, like, you know? And then I remember Graham text me and was like, I'll pick you up tomorrow, like, and stuff like that. So it kind of just went from there, and then now I get the coffees for the two lads, and then they pick me up and we go out, like, so we have a little car school.
Getting more coffees now because of the price of fuel. Exactly.
So I tell you, it's 2 coffees a day.
You're doing well out of 2 coffees.
It's not cheap, I tell you. But no, it was good because it was. I said it was nice just to integrate me into the team, and the two lads have been brilliant. Like, you know, that kind of way. They're very close themselves. Like, so I think to just share a car with them, like, it was great. Like, you know, kind of way. Getting to the dressing room as well was brilliant. Like,
but even walking in with them. Like, you're not walking in by yourself. How's it going? You don't know. Like, you do know them, but especially coming from where you came from, but that you're walking in with people who are already in the squad is a big thing. Like, you know. Yeah,
it was massive, but it's different because I remember playing for Bows. Like, you look at everyone different in the Rovers team, do you know, kind of way, because you're obviously rivals. Like, you know what I mean.
But that's what it should
You're never going to have a friendly conversation with them, like, you know, kind of way. And you know, Graham is, you know, when he gets on the pitch, like, he's nearly a different man, like, you know, that kind of way. So I remember, like, when we play for Bows, like, he'd give you a bit of sticker sometimes, like, do you know what I mean, heat of the moment, but all the players would, like, and you give it back to them, like, you know.
That's the way it should be.
100%, like.
I think I remember coming back to the league in 2012 and everybody was really friendly with each other. And even, like, I was like, what's going on here? I couldn't fathom it. And like, again, the years I played in the league, it was like, it's never that conversation, and I think it's gone back to being like, there's a mutual respect, don't get me wrong, there was always that, and I think, but that thing of, don't know you, you're not my team, I'm not pushed to know you neither. When it's done, it will, like, when your career's done, we'll chat, like, and that's the way it's been. I've met some lads that I would have had killings with now that I'd be friendly, but I think it's gone back to that. That's a healthy thing for the league, like, you know. Yeah, no, it is. Like, and I think even rivalries this year, like, you look at the Dublin derbies, there's been so many of them, like, you know, that kind of way. And even when I've been involved with, like, Ireland 21s, for example, like, you'd be playing against, say, like, Joe Redmond last week, but I would have been nearly, like, very pally with him on a trip only 2 weeks ago. Like, but then you're on the pitch and it's a rivalry, isn't it? Like, you know, that kind of way. But I think that's good for the league, and I think once you get on the pitch, I think everyone guesses, they know now, like, it's, when you're on the pitch, it's a different person there, you know, that kind of way. But when you're off the pitch, then it's you know, you can obviously be mates and stuff like that. But I think it is good for the league, like, that it's not all friendly. The competitiveness is still there, like, you know, that kind of way. How was your Ireland experience? I know you are gutted to miss out. Was it penalties? Penalties against Israel. Because I obviously watched the games. It was a tinge of obviously a massive disappointment, but was there also a tinge of regret and what could have been? Yeah, I think so. Like, I think, you know, especially when it's penalties, you've obviously been involved in penalties yourself, and it's the worst way to lose. What's that supposed to mean? Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Is that a pop at the penalties again? I don't even know. But yeah, look, penalties is obviously a difficult way to lose, and obviously with my last game in underage football as well, like, you know what I mean. So it's not a nice way to go out, like, you know. But it's football, isn't it? Like, you just gotta. Obviously, I was back in 2 days later. We had a game, like, do you know what I mean? I think that's just been the story of the season. It's just been game after game. Yeah, but it's good because if you lose a game, it's just there's 2 days later to redeem yourself, and you're back at it again. And as I said, if you're winning, you know, you have 2 days to go back and win again because you're on good form, like, so. It's been brilliant. Like, you touched on earlier interviewing Stephen Kenny. Yeah. So obviously with him being the Ireland manager, is that something that, with you finishing up your last game with the 21s, is that something that with the move to Blackpool coming, that you've your eyes set on then, that's something that you're ambitious or working towards now?
Yeah, I think you've got to be ambitious, like, you know, that kind of way. I think obviously with being my last game for 21s, the next progression is obviously the first team, you know, that kind of way. So for me, it's working towards that, isn't it? Like, you know, that kind of way. I think every player in the 21 squad is probably the exact same, like, you know, that kind of way. That's the next progression. Can you get into that first team squad, like, and for me going over there and obviously finishing the season here, it's about putting hard work in, you know, that kind of way, and up my game even more, like, you know, that kind of way. I've had a good year this year, but there's still a lot more to do, a lot more to practice on, and I can get better.
So touching on obviously the move to Blackpool, they came in for you in the summer, and there was a lot of talk around it, and the club obviously valued you a lot more than what the original offer was. I'm not going to say it was frustrating, because it's the club's prerogative, and you're probably going, you know what, I am worth more than that. So then they've come back in, and they keep coming back in. Did that the fact that they put in 3 or 4 bids to try and get you, is that one of the key factors in the decision to decide right, well, I'm gonna go?
I think the fact that, like, if I was being let go by Rovers for just like the first initial offer, for example, like, I'd probably be sitting there going, how much did they really value me, like, you know, that kind of way, like. And even obviously, you know, with two sides of it, like, it was kind of a good feeling that gives you confidence, because you're being valued by both sides of the table, you know, that kind of way, like, and that was brilliant. And I think just as a footballer, like, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? I think just being valued in the environment you're in is massive, like, you know, that kind of way. And I think once you kind of lose that, or you don't feel that kind of being valued and that valuation, like, I think it's tough, like, it's a tough place to be in, like, you know. So I think in that moment it was like Rovers are doing everything to keep me, and then Blackpool obviously wanted to get me. So it was kind of, the way it's actually worked out has been brilliant for me, because I've got to play in the group stage, like, you know, that kind of way. And that for me, and winning the league, you know, was absolutely massive, like. So it was like, I'm not going to say it was the best of both, but maybe it was, like, you know, maybe it was the best thing, like, because I've got to play in a group stage, win the league, and then hopefully go off there now, you know. So
it was interesting, because around the time there was a lot of talk of, like, players of your age. I think Promise went away, a few others.
Yeah, Dawson. Dara Burns, there was a few.
Yeah, went away, and they were undervalued. Didn't get as much for them as they should, etc. But when you see the fact that Rovers are going, well, hold on to Blackpool. We're in the group stages here. We have a fantastic stadium. We have a really good training ground. Now, I know the training ground's really good for Ireland. In terms of the UK, it probably needs to be better. You know, there's academies in the UK that are much better than here ones. Hey, lads. But you're also saying we can give them what you can in terms of the training and the facilities, and we're in Europa group stages. So they were justified in holding out for that valuation, because they valued the club as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was massive for me, like, because I knew I was coming into an environment this year where it was like, this is, you know, we've nothing to be like. Look at last night, like, you're playing against a top Belgian team and you're 1-0 up into the 75th minute, like, do you know, kind of way, like. And I think from an Irish perspective, that's absolutely massive, like, you know. You look at Belgium, they're probably one of the top 3 nations in the world at the moment in terms of national team, like, you know, that kind of way. And you look at the players that Genk have produced in the last few years, like, you're talking $1 million transfers, like, you know, year after year, like. So I think for us to be competing against them, and you look at our home record this year, like, you know, it's a massive club, like, you know, that kind of way. And I think Rovers were dead, like, 100% right, and you know, that valuation, like, there's no need for them to be settling for small transfers and stuff like that, because I think, you know, obviously the league, if everyone can kind of, like, the league can kind of get to that standard where they're not settling for smaller transfers. And maybe a few years ago I was probably hoping for that, like, maybe I was in that boat where I was probably like, oh, hopefully I can get away and go for a small cheap transfer. But at the end of the day, if you're going for a small cheap transfer, you got to question how much am I being valued on the other side of the table, do you know, that kind of way. So, and
then the value going into the club, into your next club, because obviously they have to put up a transfer fee, and they're saying, well, I'm worth more, because I don't need to come for this. Yeah. You know, where I always felt UK clubs especially would go, well, what are you going to do, stay? And they have you over a barrel, really, like, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
And what's your expectations going to Blackpool then, for your own, from a personal point of view?
Yeah, look, I think like like even going back a year, like I think when I came to Rovers, like I think with Bowes I was probably very much like I need to get to England, I need to get to England, I need to get to England. Then when I came to Rovers, it was kind of like it's on a 2-year deal, and it was kind of like I'm just going to concentrate on my performances here, and then whatever happens after that happens. And I wasn't kind of like outcome based, like, and I've kind of learned from that I'm not kind of like, as I said, when I came to Rovers I didn't even think about England, like, you know, I was really just concentrated on doing everything I can to improve my performances. And I think going to Blackpool I've got to take that same mindset, that it's got to be like I can't be like I want to get a move away from here, for example. It's got to be I want to concentrate on performances, hopefully play, and then whatever comes from that comes from it. But I think, you know, as I said previously in my career previously, I was kind of like I need to get away, and then it was like my performances probably dropped because of that, because I was just too concentrated on the far goal, like, you know, kind of way. So I think with Rovers this year, as I said, like it was like just concentrate performances, do everything I can to improve my performances, whether that's on the pitch, off the pitch. And as you said earlier, the 4 kind of aspects of the game, like I think to try and improve them, and then I said if I can improve them, I'll probably give myself a much better chance to get to that outcome, you know.
There's a bit of a gimmicky thing for it. It's called controlling the controllables, really, isn't it? Like,
100%.
So that's where you're looking at. So obviously you've made it to the top now, and the last question we ask, and generally up here, like, so Tallaght Stadium's down there, Milltown is down that direction, and obviously there's the Rings End and stuff like that. So you're Nace, which is all the way down there.
All the way down there.
Your college is in there. What has Rovers given to you, and what does Rovers mean to you now as a club?
Yeah, I think it's,
for 1 year you've made a massive impact.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. First of all, I think even with the fans, I feel at home. Like, you know, even last night I remember when the tackle down by the south stand the first half, like, and just to hear the reaction, you nearly want to turn around and start giving fist pumps, like, you know, but obviously you can't do
Pico
that mid game.
Let Pico do that.
Let Pico do that. But I think just just being valued by the club has been massive. Like, I think the gaffer has been unbelievable with me, like, you know, on the field stuff, off the field stuff, he's been brilliant. Again, it's you come with a closed eye nearly because of where I've came from, and because of the rivalry.
You're pre-programmed to not
and
like
I never them. Exactly, you've kind of came to not like them, and you come in and the people have just been unbelievable, whether it's the staff, whether it's been the fans, the volunteers, like, just been absolutely brilliant. Like, but I said, you don't see that side when you're on the other side of the city, like, you know, kind of way. So for me it was just like to see like the people within the club are just such good people and just want to help you, like, you know, kind of way. And then obviously on the pitch, the coaching staff have been brilliant with me, and I wouldn't be anywhere without them, because the reality of it is they've improved my game massively, like, you know, kind of way. So yeah, overall it's been an unbelievable experience, like, and I think even nights like last night I really enjoyed it, like, just the fans, you know, even singing the champion song and stuff like that, it's something that I've never experienced, like, you know, that kind of way. And even just within the club, the winning mentality has just been unbelievable. Like, I'm not going to go into too much depth, but like, even just the wording and the stuff that's being said in training, like, it's that winning mentality all the time, like, you know, kind of way. And it's something that was new to me, and I think I kind of had to adapt to that at the start, because it was like, you know, we want to win the league, and just the kind of phrases that were being used, and it was all kind of based around about winning, like, you know. And for me,
competitive in every aspect of training.
100%, like, and I want to, and just the culture that's been built there, like, you know, is brilliant, like, you know, kind of way. And everyone's on the same page, like, even from like if there's a 9-year-old walking around the place, you shake their hand, like. And I think for me it was that was something that I was never really, like, I'd never really seen that before, like, you know. And like, every team that comes up, if there's an under-10s team playing, they all run up to you and start giving you handshakes, like. But that brings that initial attraction, like, that kind of like connection nearly, like, you know. And that kind of like, they remember that obviously, and then they feel a part of the club as the first team players do, you know, that kind of way. So that kind of culture is massive, like.
So last word for you, Andy. We touched on stuff with your family before and other people around you when you were coming up playing football, but who'll be your biggest sort of influence or help in your career to date? Now, I know you're only starting out, like, you're 22 here, so.
Yeah, I think my immediate family has been massive. Like, my dad, as I said, obviously was massively involved in football. Johnny, before he passed away, was obviously really interested in my football. Obviously he was only 15 when he passed away, so even my granddad, my mum, my 2 brothers are massive into it. Like, my older brother travelled to to Belgium there when we went away. Like he was in Greece last year with Bowes. Like so, he travels around the world nearly watching football like with me. So
Blackpool Tower next year.
Yeah. But no, stuff like that. Like he lives in London now and he flies back to Tala for most games. Like that kind of way. So he's really supportive in that way. And then my younger brother, obviously my girlfriend plays football, so that kind of I really like that kind of like when I come home and if I have a bad game, like she'll tell me if I have a bad game and it's not kind of beating around the bush. Like some people wouldn't like that. She
giving you tactical stuff.
She gives me a bit of stick.
No,
like
couldn't handle that now.
But I don't mind that for me. I'm kind of football obsessed in a way like that. I don't mind it, like
Imagine getting it in the neck off the manager. Hey, you've got to tuck in at the back post. You come home, your missus says, "Jeez, what were you doing on that one?" You'd be like, "Don't start. I'm after getting it already. I don't need
get
this."
Some stick about
Talk
it,
about not bringing your work home.
I know what you mean. I know, but look, I enjoy it. Like that kind of way. But yeah, look, I think the family has been massive for me. Like and even now my sister, like she's big into sport. Like she plays rugby and Gaelic, and for me, kind of to be her inspiration and kind of help her as a role model is kind of big for me as well, that kind of way. So I think they've been brilliant, and my dad has obviously been probably the main one. He was obviously mad at the football at Mount Mary, and he tried to get me to Mount Mary, and I said no, I'm going to Joey's. Like that kind of way.
You knocked your own dad back.
I knocked my own dad, and I said no,
ruthless.
I'm
You're
not
ruthless.
going there. Like
no wonder you left Bowes to come to Rovers.
I
just
know,
like, whatever. I'm out.
But look, at the end of the day, like it is what it is. Like that kind of way, and
you do what you had to do for your
exactly.
Own career.
But that's what it is. You've got to be selfish sometimes, and obviously, if it's for the best of your career, that's what you got to do. Kind of way.
Has he forgiven you?
Just about.
Brilliant, Andy.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. That was brilliant. A lot of stuff I didn't know about you there. That was excellent.
Yeah, there's it's some fucking view, that, isn't it?
You're still on, you can't curse.
You can't curse. You can cut that out, can't you? I thought we were finished.
Some fucking
view, isn't it? So where's Tala from here now?
Down there, look.
You can see the Aviva there, can't you?
There's the. Yeah, you'll be in the Aviva soon, bud. See the glass, see the green glass there?
Yeah.
See to the right of that.
Oh, that's
Stadium there.